What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're discussing 10 players plus some honorable mentions that are currently on the Detroit Lions roster bubble. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here, and we are back to discuss some more Detroit Lions. Now, roster cuts for the Detroit Lions have to be done by tomorrow. They have to cut down to that final roster, and they could start happening anytime. I mean, we're just kind of waiting for that to happen. But I think because of that, it's only right that we do a video like this, where we look at those players that I think are clearly on the bubble. Like, I wouldn't be surprised they were cut, and I also wouldn't be surprised if they make the team. They are that tough to decide. I mean, it's just that close. And we also have a few honorable mentions, but I'm just calling it top 10 because, you know, if I name like top 13, like that's just weird. So top 10. We'll keep it top 10 plus a couple honorable mentions that we'll name at the end. So these are the 10 plus honorable mention players that I believe are currently on the Detroit Lions roster bubble. Now, sure, you could go way more than this. You could name so many more players, but I just kind of wanted to try to keep it pretty condensed and limited because at some point then it just gets confusing and I'm starting to name every player and it's like, okay, yes, these guys are technically on the bubble, but seriously, we're naming like 30 guys here. So instead, I just kept it to 10. Let's cover honorable mentions. Just 3 honorable mentions. That's it. Just 3. Well, it's actually a little bit more than that. You'll see when we get there. It's not that much. It's okay. Now, before we get the video started, as you guys can see from the board, only 9 days until the Detroit Lions kick off against the Chicago Bears. Only 6 days until the NFL season starts. And I know you guys can see the question on the bottom. That's from my guy, Hungry Panda. But look, I haven't came up with my answer yet, so I don't want to answer it. I just have it up there so I remember. But it will be coming soon. Let's get into today's video, man. These are in no particular order. We're just out here to have some fun. First off, we have Beau Scarbrough. Beau Scarbrough, the former Alabama running back, was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, and he was given an opportunity by the Lions last season because of tons of injuries at the running back position. He was brought up from the practice squad, and he came right away in and made a big impact. You could tell this was a hard-nosed runner. This is a powerful running back that will literally run you over. He'll knock your helmet off if you're not prepared to take that hit. Beau Scarbrough is much different from a lot of other running backs we have. So coming into this offseason, to me, it was kind of like, okay, it's a no-brainer. He's going to make the team, right? He's going to make it. But unfortunately, this offseason, through training camp, he's missed a lot of time due to injuries. And because of that, he could be right on the bubble. I think it makes sense to keep him because he does bring a little bit of a different style than really what we do have in the running back room. But if he can't stay healthy, the Lions know what that's like to have a guy that can't be on the field. So you don't necessarily always want to mess with that. So I think he's purely on the roster bubble. I think in my prediction, I didn't have him making the team. It really does come down to how many running backs the Lions want to ultimately keep, right? If they want to keep 5 running backs, obviously it's a better chance. But if they want to keep 4, then all of a sudden it's going to be very tough. Because I think we already have 3 locks. I think you locked up 3 running backs. DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson, and Jason Huntley-Demir are locks at the running back spot. And you have a lot of other running backs that you need to choose from. Plus, we keep working them out. So for me, Beau Scarbrough is on here. But if Beau is on here, you know Ty Johnson's got to be on here. I mean, these are like the 2 names that come to mind as soon as you think of roster bubble players for Lions. Ty Johnson, he has to be on here. A former draft pick by Bob Quinn out of Maryland, a return man and also a running back that has a lot of top-end speed, but he's a lot stronger than you would think. Not as much of a power running back as Beau Scarbrough is, but he can lay the boom, okay? Don't catch yourself sleeping against Ty Johnson. He will lay the boom. And just like Beau Scarbrough, he is right on that bubble. Now, what's going good for Ty Johnson is 1, he was drafted by Bob Quinn, and 2, he's been healthy throughout training camp for pretty much the entire time. Beau Scarbrough hasn't. But you can make a case that he's more similar to other running backs that we have. So I think those 2 guys are right there on the bubble. Now, if the Lions decide to keep 5, maybe they both make it. But that means that this guy would be left out. That's Jonathan Williams. Yeah, I'm putting Jonathan Williams on here too. Look, we went and signed Jonathan Williams. He was a former Indianapolis Colt that showed some sparks. 200-yard rushing games. It last, so we ended up with us, Detroit Lions, and we brought him in. And he's been here for a while now, and he seems to be doing pretty darn well. We haven't heard anything negative about him. So I think no matter what happens at the running back spot, someone's going to get cut, and somebody's not going to like it. Because that's just the nature of it right now. We have a lot of talent in the backfield, which is crazy to think because we usually don't. But we got a lot of talent back there, and someone's going to get cut that maybe you didn't want to see get cut. So I think those 3 players are kind of, you know, all in their own group. I'm separating them, but I think they're kind of all in their own group. Just running backs in general. That's going to be a great thing to check out. I mean, I'm really curious to see who the Lions decide to keep. Next up, we have Miles Killebrew. Okay, Miles Killebrew to me was the guy that I didn't put on my final 53 the first time around. However, the more I think about it, I have a feeling he's going to be a guy that makes the team. Now, I really think it's really hard to find a roster spot for Miles Killebrew. Just by the way I went through it, I think it's hard to find a spot for him. He's basically a veteran at this point for the Detroit Lions. He was drafted by Bob Quinn, and his versatility has been great to the point that you can put him at linebacker and safety. He's also a stud on special teams that's pretty darn reliable, and he just seems like a leader in that group. I mean, we got a lot of new pieces pieces this offseason. He seems to be a leader in this defense. And Matt Patricia is all about having leaders, especially guys that can play different spots. So as I think about it more, I'm thinking he's going to make the team. But I didn't have my initial 53. It's all a numbers game, so it's difficult. So I have Miles Killebrew. What do you think? Matt Sokol, tight end Matt Sokol. Okay, I think we have the tight end group pretty much filled. This is how I look at it. I think Hockenson, Jesse James, and Nauta make it. Those are my 3. Matt Sokol's kind of on that bubble. He could take Nauta's spot. He may not make it. He may make it, and maybe we keep 4. I don't think we're going to keep 4, but we could. I think a guy like Hunter Bryant's going to be placed on the practice squad because we haven't seen him at all. I mean, we haven't seen him at all in training camp since like the very beginning. So I don't think it's really fair to maybe keep him on the roster over someone else, unless when you saw him, you're just like, yeah, this guy is a must-have. So I'm not exactly sure, but I think that Matt Sokol's right on that. I mean, he was a former Michigan State player who goes very overlooked. I mean, some people don't even know who he is. Some people don't know this guy's even on the team because we never really hear about him. But he's definitely a guy that you guys need to keep up with, because he's been doing some good things, showing a few flashes through training camp. I think he's another player that's currently on that bubble. Next up, Oday Aboushi. I think Oday Aboushi, to me, is a guy that's right on the bubble. Now, look, they've shown interest. They brought him back. But for me, Oday Abouchi's right there. When you draft 2 guards, it makes it really difficult to keep guard. I'm sure you lost Graham Glasgow, but you drafted 2. You have Joe Dahl starting. I don't think Kenny Wiggins is going anywhere. So now all of a sudden, I think a guy like Oday Aboushi could potentially be moved. I mean, I think Bo Benshaw is going to make the team. You brought this guy back for a reason. You brought this undrafted free agent back for a reason. I think Oday Aboushi could be the guy that gets cut. However, I can also see the value that he adds to the team. It just got dark in here, which is weird. So what do you guys think, man? I got Oday Aboushi as my offensive lineman that I think's on the bubble. On the defensive line, I got John Pennicini. I hate to say it so much, but I had the Pennicini here. I think they keep him. He's young. He's a rookie. He's showing the flashes. I love his mindset and attitude and just positivity through everything. And he's slowly getting better. I mean, we weren't expecting him to play a starting role year 1, but he'd be a nice guy down the road. But with John Pennicini, I think he will make the team. But I have to put him here. The Lions literally brought in like 3 defensive linemen. I think 2 of the 3 could play the nose tackle spot. He's going to be a nose tackle for us if he makes the team. He can't really move out. He's a bigger guy. So the Lions have brought in a lot of competition. And I'm not putting those guys on here. I'm not putting those guys on here because personally, I just don't think they're making the team. I don't see them as much on the bubble. Like, I'm not talking about players that could get cut. I'm talking about players that are on the bubble. Like, I can't decide whether or not they're going to make the team or not. That kind of thing. I think Pennicini makes it, but I think he's a guy that has to be recognized as a player on the bubble. When I look at Will Clark, when I look at some of those defensive linemen that we signed, honestly, personally, I just don't think they're making the team. So I'm not necessarily saying they're going to be on the bubble. I think there's a lot of players you could add to this, like Jalen Elliott, players like that, undrafted free agents, Bobby Price. We haven't heard about him. Next up, Daryl Roberts. Okay, this is weird because I didn't think I'd be saying this, but yeah, I got Daryl Roberts here. It's a numbers game, guys. It's a numbers game, and I think the cornerback group is pretty darn deep, but I think Tony McRae makes it very difficult. This situation, you might as well just put the 3 cornerbacks all together, kind of like the running back situation, because last season in 2019, the Detroit Lions only kept 7 cornerbacks on that final 53-man roster. And if you look at the Lions cornerback positional group right now, I think the first 4 are clearly locks. Jeffrey Okudah, Amani, Justin Coleman, Desmond Trufant. But after that, now you have 4 players that I don't think are locks because you only kept 7 last season. So maybe you keep 8. This is a problem that I had when I was doing my 53-man roster. Maybe you keep 8, but if you try to keep 7 again, now you have D. Virgin, Michael Ford, Daryl Roberts, and Tony McRae. Those 4 players. So that makes 8. So if you want to keep 7, you're going to have to cut one of those guys. I can see D. Virgin being cut, but I like what he gives to us on special teams. Michael Ford, I feel like he's had some experience. He may be the best cornerback out of those 4, but I don't know. We've seen some good things out of Tony McRae in camp. He also is familiar with the special teams coach, so that's huge for him. And you got a guy in Daryl Roberts who was a starter with New York. Now, it didn't go so well last season, but the year before he was pretty darn solid. So where are you going with this one, right? You take the vet that started before, you take the guy that's familiar with the special teams coach, do you take the guy that's been good on special teams, or do you take the player that was good for the Detroit Lions, depth guy last season at cornerback? I think those 4 honestly can be placed into 1 here because I think if you only keep 7, obviously, one of these guys are going to get cut. So I think that's a really good one as well. I would say for the main bubble here, it's Daryl Roberts and Tony McRae, but I think you'd also throw D. Virgin into it. Honestly, I think Michael Ford, Daryl Roberts, and Tony McRae are 3 that make it. I don't know, though. I mean, this is tough. Let me know your thoughts. Next up, Steven Wirtel. Okay, this is kind of weird. I know you wouldn't think a long snapper would be on here, but honestly, what we've been hearing is that he's been pretty good, so I guess I have to put him on here. And we've already went through Jonathan Williams. Now, moving on a couple of honorable mentions just to make sure I kept that at 10. We have David Blau. David Blau, not necessarily a guy I think the Lions are going to move. It's more of whether or not they're going to try to put him on the practice squad, which I believe he's eligible for, or they're going to try to keep him on the roster. I mean, they could try either. I believe you could protect 4 players, so they may just put him on practice squad, protect him there, or they may keep him on the roster. I'm not sure. I mean, they went through 3 quarterbacks last year. They may want to keep him on the roster. I think the next one, it has to be the punters, Aaron Siposs and Jack Fox. I mean, that's already insane. I really don't know who's going to win it. I'm leaning more towards Jack Fox. Earlier, I was thinking Siposs. I'm leaning towards Fox now, but I do think this is a great battle. Guys, there's a lot of players that I think on the roster bubble. This was not players I think could get cut. Okay, we could name 40 players that I think could get cut. We could name 50 players I think could get cut. But in this video, instead, it's the players that I believe are right in the middle that a lot of people are going to debate about. Like, oh, they should keep this guy. They should keep this guy. And I think in the comment section, we're going to see a lot of debates. So when I get to name multiple players from the same position, I think that just makes it more entertaining. So we'll see, man. Roster cuts are coming soon. I wish the best of luck to everybody through this. And if you don't make the team, man, I wish you the best of luck on, whatever your future holds. Go do your thing. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.